Guyana's political journey. Welcome to the Global Explorer channel. Guyana, a small nation on South America's northern coast, rich in natural beauty, diverse in culture, and deeply layered in political history. But how did this former British colony transition into a republic? Why did it have both a president and a prime minister at the same time? And who really held power? In this video, we take a deep dive into Guyana's political evolution, from independence in 1966 to its unique system of leadership and how it compares with countries around the world. The road to independence. Let's begin in the mid-20th century. Guyana, then known as British Guyana, was under British colonial rule. But after World War II, independence movements surged across the Caribbean and the world. Under growing pressure and rising nationalist voices, especially from leaders like Forbes Burnham and Chetty Jagan, Guyana began its journey towards self-rule. On May 26, 1966, Guyana became an independent nation. The Union Jack was lowered and the golden arrowhead was raised. But independence didn't mean a full break from British traditions just yet. From 1966 to 1970, Guyana was a constitutional monarchy, with the British monarch still technically head of state, represented by a governor-general. Becoming a republic. In 1970, Guyana became a republic within the Commonwealth, officially removing the Queen as head of state. This move led to the appointment of the country's first president, Arthur Chung. But here's the twist. Arthur Chung was not the most powerful man in the country. His role was largely ceremonial. The real power rested with the Prime Minister, Forbes Burnham, the same man who led Guyana into independence. So from 1970 to 1980, Guyana had both a president and a prime minister, but it was Burnham, the prime minister, who held the reins. President versus prime minister, who had more power? Let's clear up the confusion many people have. Why did Guyana have both a president and a prime minister? And who was really in charge? President Arthur Chung, 1970-1980, ceremonial. Represented the state. Signed laws. Hosted diplomatic events. But had no executive control. Prime Minister Forbes Burnham, 1966-1980, had real power. Controlled the cabinet, made policy, oversaw government operations, and led the nation politically and economically. So even though the president held the highest title, it was the prime minister who was running the country. The constitutional change of 1980. In 1980, a major constitutional shift happened, and it changed everything. Burnham and his party, the People's National Congress, PNC, restructured the Constitution to introduce an executive presidency. This new structure abolished the ceremonial presidency and created a president with full executive power, combining the roles of head of state and head of government. And who became the first executive president? Forbes Burnham himself. So now, from 1980 onwards, the president was the most powerful person in Guyana. The prime minister became more of a deputy role or senior government minister. Comparing Guyana to other countries, this system, with both a president and a prime minister, exists in other countries too. But how they share power depends on the political model. Let's look at 3 common systems and where Guyana fits. Parliamentary system, like Guyana before 1980. President, ceremonial. Prime Minister, powerful. Examples: India, Trinidad and Tobago, Germany, Ireland. Presidential system, like Guyana after 1980. President equal head of state and head of government. Prime Minister equal optional or reduced role. Examples: United States, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia. Semi-presidential system. President and Prime Minister share real power. Examples: France, Russia, Portugal, Ukraine, pre-reform. So Guyana's political shift in 1980 was a move toward a strong presidential system, giving the president full authority over the government. Timeline of presidents and prime ministers. Let's briefly walk through the timeline of leadership in Guyana. List of presidents. Guyana's first president was Arthur Chung. He served from 1970 to 1980, but his position was ceremonial. The real political power at the time was held by Prime Minister Forbes Burnham. Forbes Burnham, 1923 to 1985, was Guyana's founding prime minister, 1966 and 1980, and first executive president, 1980 to 1985. He led the country to independence from Britain in 1966 and later reshaped the Constitution to give the presidency full executive power. Known for socialist policies, nationalization of key industries, and strong nationalist rhetoric, Burnham was a dominant figure in Guyana's politics, admired by supporters for his vision and criticized by opponents for authoritarian tendencies. Desmond Hoyt, 1929 to 2002, was Guyana's second executive president, serving from 1985 to 1992 after the death of Forbes Burnham. Initially a senior minister in Burnham's government, Hoyt inherited a struggling economy and political tensions. He implemented economic reforms, reversing many of Burnham's socialist policies by opening Guyana to foreign investment and encouraging private enterprise. Hoyt also oversaw political liberalization, including reforms that led to the first internationally recognized free elections in decades, which his party lost in 1992 to Cheddi Jagan. For Cheddi Jagan. Co-founder of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, with his wife Janet Jagan, he served briefly as Premier of British Guyana in the early 1960s before being removed by the British due to Cold War tensions and fears of communist influence. After decades in opposition, Jagan became president of Guyana in 1992 in the country's first free and fair elections in decades, serving until his death in 1997. He is remembered for his integrity, populist ideals, and commitment to democracy, though his tenure faced economic challenges. Sam Hinds, born 1943, is the only person in Guyana's history to have served as both president and prime minister. An engineer and member of the PPP, he became president in 1997 after Cheddi Jagan's death, then returned to the role of prime minister, serving under multiple presidents from 1992 to 2015. Known for his steady, low-profile leadership, Hinds focused on economic development, infrastructure, and continuity in government. Janet Jagan, 1920 to 2009, was Guyana's first female president and one of its most influential political figures. Born in the United States, she moved to Guyana after marrying Cheddi Jagan and co-founded the People's Progressive Party, PPP, with him. She served as First Lady, Cabinet Minister, and Prime Minister before becoming president in 1997 following Sam Hinds' interim term. Her presidency lasted until 1999, when health issues led to her resignation. Janet Jagan is remembered for her lifelong dedication to social justice, women's rights, and the working class. Bharat Jagdeo, born 1964, served as president of Guyana from 1999 to 2011, succeeding Janet Jagan. A member of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, Jagdeo focused on economic growth, environmental sustainability, and social development. Under his leadership, Guyana saw significant improvements in infrastructure, education, and healthcare. He was also known internationally for championing climate change issues and advocating for developing nations. After his presidency, Jagdeo continued to play a key role in Guyanese politics as the leader of the PPP and opposition leader. Donald Ramotar, born 1950, served as president of Guyana from 2011 to 2015. A longtime member of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, Ramotar had a background as a trade unionist and party organizer before becoming president. His administration focused on social programs, economic diversification, and strengthening democratic institutions. However, his presidency faced challenges including political opposition and debates over governance. After losing the 2015 election, Ramotar continued to be active in politics and public life. David Granger, born 1945, served as president of Guyana from 2015 to 2020. A retired military officer and leader of the People's National Congress, PNC, Granger's presidency focused on national security, infrastructure development, and economic growth, including managing Guyana's emerging oil sector. His tenure was marked by political polarization and disputes over election results. Granger lost the 2020 election to Irfan Ali but remains an influential figure in Guyanese politics. Irfan Ali, born 1980, is the current president of Guyana, having taken office in August 2020 as leader of the People's Progressive Party, PPP. A trained engineer and economist, Ali's administration focuses on managing the country's rapidly growing oil industry, economic development, social programs, and infrastructure expansion. His presidency marks a continuation of PPP leadership amid efforts to address political divisions and promote national unity. Prime Ministers. Forbes Burnham, 1966 to 1980. Ptolemy Reed. Hamilton Green. Sam Hines, multiple terms. Moses Nagamutu. Mark Phillips, current as of 2025. Note, some people served in both roles at different times, like Sam Hines, who was both president briefly and prime minister several times. Why it matters today? Why is this important? Because political power shapes a nation's path. Understanding how Guyana shifted from a British parliamentary model to a presidential republic help us understand who makes the decisions, how laws are passed, who's accountable to the people. It also helps us compare Guyana's development, leadership style, and political stability with other nations. In the South America, Caribbean, and globally. Today, with vast oil discoveries, Guyana is gaining global attention. Strong leadership and clear governance will be critical as the country navigates growth, wealth, and foreign interest. So now you know why Guyana had both a president and prime minister, how it transitioned from a ceremonial head of state to an executive presidency, and how its system compares to countries like India, Brazil, and France. Guyana's story is one of resilience, identity, and political growth. Thank you for watching, and if you learned something new today, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.